Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for Favourite Friday, my top 5 favourite book adaptations. So as you know, if you've been around for a little while, I am currently doing VEDA. We are in the second last week of VEDA, so this is my last Friday favourites because next Friday I will be doing reading sprints. So I've been alternating reading sprints for Fridays and Sundays, and on the Friday where I don't do reading sprints, I have been doing Friday favourites. So that's what we're doing today, and I've decided that I'm going to talk about my 5 favourite adaptations of a book into a TV show or a movie or something like that. I am only going to include adaptations where I have both read the book and seen the movie, because there are a number of different movies and TV shows that have been adapted from books that I have not read the books, so I can't really talk about that. But on the flip side as well, there are a number of books that have been adapted that I haven't watched. So this is only going to be something where I have seen and watched. And yeah, I'm going to talk about my top 5 favourites. It was a bit tricky to come up with this because I do quite enjoy an adaptation, but yeah, let's just dive straight into it and I'll tell you what my current 5 favourite adaptations are. So the first one, the first 2 actually, we are going to go back quite a ways. The first one I want to talk to you about is the BBC miniseries adaptation of Pride and Prejudice featuring Colin Firth. I will put an image of that somewhere up here on the screen so you will know what I'm talking about. This is one of my favourite adaptations ever. I love it because I think that it is really true to the story. A lot of the dialogue is directly lifted from the book. Yeah, it follows the story most closely, which is the main reason why I love it as much as I do. I also just think that the characters were cast incredibly well. I think that Colin Firth just plays an absolutely immaculate Darcy. Jennifer L is an amazing Lizzie. All the other actors who play the various different roles do so in a fantastic, amazing way. They really embody those personality traits of the various different characters, which I just think is absolutely amazing. Another character who I think is done, I mean, like I said, I think they're all done incredibly well, but I have to say massive props to the woman that played Mrs. Bennet, and I can't remember what her name is, but I will put, editing Mel will find out and put her name in the titles, but she just did the most amazing Mrs. Bennet that I have ever seen. Some of the other roles that have been portrayed in other adaptations have often done very well as well, but this is the best Mrs. Bennet that I've ever come across, and I just think it's absolutely fantastic and amazing. And plus, it's just all over beautiful. It's shot in beautiful places. They chose the backgrounds, the various homesteads and whatnot really well. Yeah, just love it. Just think it's fantastic. Costume is beautiful. Just everything about it is fantastic. That is definitely one of my all-time favourite adaptations ever. It helps, of course, that Pride and Prejudice is one of my favourite books ever, but I do think that that is a lot to do with this adaptation. So I had not read the book the first time I watched the adaptation. Had I read other Austens? I'm not even sure. I think this adaptation may have been my first ever introduction to Jane Austen in general. I'm not 100% sure, but it was definitely my first introduction to Pride and Prejudice, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It also has a lot of nostalgic meaning to me because I watched it for the first time with my grandparents, which would have been when I was in year 11 or 12. Often when I would go and stay with them, from then on we would then watch some of the episodes, if not all of it. But yeah, so I think we managed to watch the whole series most weekends when I would go and stay with them throughout my late high school, early uni. So yeah, that just has a lot of nostalgic meaning to me. So that is number 1. This is not really in any particular order, but I'm starting with definitely probably my favourite. I'm then going to talk to you about a mini-series that I have not been able to find, and I've actually spoken about this on another video way back when I first started the channel. And I think a couple of people maybe commented and said, hey, you can find it here, but I never managed to do so. So if you happen to know where I could find it, please let me know. But anyway, that is a adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. It was a series that was created, I think, in the 80s. I was watching it when I was 9-10 years old, so it would have been late 80s, but I think it was probably created in the early 80s. So Anne of Green Gables, and it featured Megan Fallows, who I think is the best Anne ever. It was just, again, very, very true to the book. In fact, there was actually a number of different series that were Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, Anne of Windy Willows, I think, Anne of the Island, I think, and I really enjoyed all of them, but the one in particular that I just absolutely adored was Anne of Green Gables, which follows all of Anne of Green Gables and just a little bit of Anne of Avonlea. And yeah, like I said, very true to the book, and plus I do think the casting of Megan Fallows as Anne was just perfect. She was just an absolutely amazing Anne, and I really felt like played the perfect Anne. Another one, in fairness, and maybe this is the answer as to why these are favourites of mine, I watched before I read, so potentially it's because when I've gone back I've seen them as those characters, but I do think that she just played the most true to the book and had how I imagined Anne was exactly how she played Anne, which again could be that I watched it in the wrong order, but anyway, the 1980s something miniseries featuring Megan Fallows of Anne of Green Gables is another absolute favourite adaptation of mine. So if you happen to know whereabouts one might be able to get a copy of this, let me know, because that'd be amazing. So another favourite adaptation of mine, this is more so for the first film, but I do really like the second and parts 1 and 2 of the third, and that is The Hunger Games. So again, this could partly be because I watched the movies before I read the books, but again, I think it was cast incredibly well. I think Jennifer Lawrence plays Katniss perfectly. I just really enjoy the movies. I think that in particular, like I said, the first movie, I think that it is the storyline in general lends itself really, really well to film and to being in a visual medium. So although I did like the books and I thought they were very enjoyable, I do think that they're very visual, so it works better, I think, in a visual medium. Like I said, not that I didn't enjoy the books, I definitely did, but I just think the adaptations are fantastic, particularly in terms of some of the aspects that they talk about, like the dress and the way that the designer worked to make building up their presentation in order to get more sponsorship and all of that sort of thing. I thought just played really well on screen in a way that it didn't necessarily come across in the books as well. Next up is the adaptation of Good Omens that came out a couple of years ago. I actually really, really enjoyed this one, despite the fact that it didn't veer away from the original source material, particularly in terms of what it was conveying, but the way that they chose to do that did differ quite substantially in the fact that in the book there was no one particular main point of view, whereas in the miniseries, the angel and the demon were kind of our main focus. But I thought that actually worked very, very well. Again, I thought it was cast incredibly well. David Tennant and Michael Sheen played Crowley and Aziraphale perfectly to my way of thinking. It's one of my favourite books of all time, so it's not really surprising that an adaptation of it was one of my favourite adaptations of all time, except that, having said that, sometimes I can feel very much the opposite. So I just think they did this very, very well. It definitely helped that Neil Gaiman, who is one of the authors of the book, was very heavily involved in the actual creation of the show, so that definitely helped, and you could really see that. So yeah, I just really, really enjoyed that one, and it is therefore one of my favourite adaptations. And the final adaptation that I am going to talk about today is the first movie of The Lord of the Rings, so The Fellowship of the Ring. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the second and third. I thought that Peter Jackson made some decisions in the second and third adaptations, particularly the second adaptation, that kind of kind of, I thought, missed the point of what happened with those characters in the books. But the first one I thought was done incredibly well. I thought that it was very close to the source material. I thought that it was adapted very well. Choosing New Zealand as Middle-earth was fantastic choice, just really lends itself to the kind of sweeping, beautiful landscape that Tolkien was writing about, and I just thought that it was incredibly well adapted. The, again, casting was fantastic, particularly the hobbits I thought were cast very, very well, and Ian McKellen as Gandalf was an amazing choice. So the first one, absolutely. Some of the choices that were made, like for example missing out Tom Bombadil completely, didn't bother me because I thought that it did propel the story further in a way that that section of the book, although I actually personally really enjoy it, isn't necessary to the storyline necessarily. Whereas some of the decisions that were made, like I said, in the second and third just kind of bugged me. But that particular one, the exclusion of Bombadil, didn't bug me, and I thought it was incredibly well done and just a really beautiful, beautiful work of theatre. So those are my top 5 favourite adaptations of books into film or into miniseries. So yeah, please do comment and let me know what some of your favourite adaptations of different books into TV shows are. Let me know if there's any that you agree with of what I said or don't agree with what I've said. I will say that I do have any number of adaptations that I really, really enjoy, and were I filming this on a different day, I may very well say different versions, different adaptations, because I do have a number that I really love. But those are, as of today, my top 5 adaptations from book into movie. So like I said, please comment any thoughts that you have in the comments below. If you would like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me the little camera emoji. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy this video, and I will see you next time.